Mike, I'm curious to know what your take is about what's going on in the World Cup. And an Iranian journalist just asked Greg Berhalter why he hasn't asked the U.S. government to remove naval ships around Iran. The U.S. kind of...
Oh, no.
Yeah.
It's an unfair question.
Yeah. So, number one, how would you answer that question? And number two is, why did the U.S. men's Twitter account put these guys in this spot? I understand that they were going for something, but there are different ways to get out this message and draw attention to what's happening. To subject Greg Berhalter to questions like this without running it by them that this was going to happen, it seems a little bit like a bizarre judgment call.
I'd also add, by the way, that an Iranian reporter also asked the U.S. captain, Tyler Adams, first off, he reprimanded him for mispronouncing Iran, and then said, "Are you comfortable representing the U.S. when the country has such a history of racism against black people?" It was some press conference today in Doha.
He's a 23-year-old professional soccer player. That's incredible. I hadn't heard any of those stories. Yeah, the thing that bums me out about this is that the U.S. had no coordinated plan of attack, right? Like, they walked into this World Cup knowing that all this stuff was going to fly around and had no, strategy. I don't know how some combination of United States soccer representatives, Greg Berhalter, someone from the State Department, a bunch of people should have sat down and been like, okay, here are things that might happen. And maybe they did, and these are just things that they didn't plan for. But they certainly don't seem to have any kind of coordinated plan for dealing with all of the thousands and thousands of thorny issues that have come up during the World Cup. And they should have. Someone should be protecting them. They should have issued a statement. Even the small gestures, like the German team putting their hands over their mouths to indicate that they were silenced, even those small coordinated gestures are very powerful, and the U.S. doesn't seem to have any idea what they're doing, and that's kind of disappointing to me.
It was reported that, indeed, there was no coordination with the State Department or the soccer team, boots on the ground in Qatar, about what they were going to do on Twitter, which, once again, for the people that are just joining us, is the U.S. Men's Twitter account put out the Iranian flag without the Islamic Republic symbol in the middle of the flag. They altered the flag, and they said that it was a show of solidarity for the women in Iran. Obviously, major worldwide news, what's going on over there with the protest. And since then, the Iranian flag has been untouched. But obviously, the Iranian government and their football federation has called for the banishment of the U.S. from this tournament. It has not gone over well in Iran, and it's just one of those tricky situations in which you'd like some sort of uniform policy going into it, considering they were in the group. We all knew that the U.S. was going to play Iran for several months, Mike.
This has been known for a very long time, and Qatar and Iran are two hot zones of U.S. involvement and conflict. That's why it's so stunning to me that they didn't have any kind of actual plan. All of the players, the coaches, everybody should have been armed with certain talking points, certain things to say and not to say. And then to have that Twitter thing happen without even consulting the team. The team didn't know it was happening. It's just so unfair. It's just it seems like this whole thing, it's not like this got sprung on them. They have known for a very long time where they were going and who they were going to play. It's just, what if Greg Berhalter, by the way, what did they ask him? Something about U.S. military strategy?
There was a really funny tweet that I saw. They asked Greg Berhalter why he hasn't asked the U.S. government to move the naval ships, and someone retweeted, "We can't even get him to play Gio Reyna."
Yeah, that's accurate. What if, I was just imagining if he had a really detailed and specific response to that question where he was like, well,
it's a logistical hurdle. Funny you should ask. Funny you should ask. I was talking to Navy about this yesterday.
We've been talking to our generals about this. Can you explain to us, though, Mike, as someone who just got done writing a best-selling book during the pandemic about all of the moral conundrums that no choices, it's almost impossible to be morally consistent with any of your choices. For these games at this time to be everyone unified in silence over human rights violations because we've been bought and paid for, FIFA and everyone else, and all of us. Like, how do you navigate all of that? The idea that what you guys are talking about right now is that the Americans were totally ill-equipped to, never mind have a talking points plan. What do they know about not being able to speak freely?
Look, the World Cup itself is a extremely difficult thing to navigate if you're interested in trying to maintain a moral compass or an ethical balance or whatever you want to call it. World Cup in Qatar, forget about it. World Cup in Qatar when you're playing in a group with England, Wales, and Iran, even harder. Like these are not, there's no easy solution here. There's no, for spectators, for players, for coaches, for the U.S., for other nations. I honestly think that about the best you can do, and I'm not just blowing smoke here, is what Mike, Ryan, and Whitty are doing, which is if you want to talk about the World Cup, call your podcast Morally Abhorrent. Like, put the fact that this is a problem to navigate this ethically front and center. Don't try to ignore it. Don't try to pretend it's not there. Make it part of the discussion all the time, because I think that the only mistake you can really make in situations like this, when there's no easy answer, no clear answer, is to pretend that these things aren't there, that they don't matter, that they don't exist. Talk about them all the time. I know it's annoying. I know it's a pain in the ass. Like, all you want to do is enjoy the World Cup. It's the greatest sporting event that the world has to offer, and all you want to do is just enjoy it. But that's not possible. It's not possible if you have any interest at all in being a person who's like aware of what's going on around you. So just bring it up and talk about it and discuss it. That's sort of the best we can do, I think.
I love the Iranian impression of what Joe Biden's national security daily briefings are. He goes around, he sees the vice president, the head of Space Force, every naval branch, and Greg Berhalter is also there.
Yeah.
It's just like, Chuck Mallory, Space Force, DeAndre Yedlin, right back.
Berhalter had no idea. How was his answer?
Oh, I would. Can we find the sound?
It had to be
Greg
a non-answer.
Berhalter's response.
Come on, it had to be a non-answer.
Because I would love it to be something super thought out. Well, actually, it's a domino effect. Strategically, we have to have a presence there. And it's not even so much me.
Look, we have to start with what's going on in Yemen. Let's discuss what's going on in Yemen first. Then we can move backwards to U.S. naval strategy in the Gulf.
Mike, can I just enjoy the soccer, or are you going to judge me? Like, can I just enjoy the soccer for what it is? It's soccer. It's entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, sure, you can.
Thank you.
I will try not to judge anyone who wants to just do that, because that's a very frequently expressed thought about anything, about the World Cup, about the Super Bowl when there's problems in the NFL, about the World Series when there's problems in baseball, whatever. It's college football when they're not paying players. Yes, there is a way that you can compartmentalize, that you can shut off the part of your brain that cares about this stuff and just say, like, this is my escape, this is my entertainment, go ahead. I don't think that's the best way to do it, personally, but that doesn't mean other people can't do it or shouldn't do it. I think that when you have something like the World Cup that is literally every nation on earth, every continent on earth, with the number of problems that exist, with the corruption of the body itself that puts on the event, who were just clearly bribed with enormous stacks of money by this nation and then they built a bunch of stadiums and thousands of people died in essentially slave-like conditions. I don't think it's the best move, personally, to just compartmentalize and just enjoy the entertainment, but, I'm not going to try to stop anybody else from doing that.
You're judging me, though.
Yeah, that's right.
It's the slave-like conditions, The phrase slave-like conditions. Like, when the starting point is, how did those stadiums that didn't exist get built? Oh, it was slaves marching through oppressive heat, living 8 to a room, bathing with toilet water, with no freedom to go back to their own country, no freedom to leave the job, and some of them not being paid. Like, that's how that happened. That's the starting point.
And then now there's people in those stadiums cheering and being like, it's so annoying that we can't have beer. Like, those are the two extreme ends of the World Cup experience.
You ruin everything with your moralities. Morally
That's
abhorrent.
my job.
The post-game show will be available to you